ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Welcome. We have studied till verse 36 in our last class. So today we will start from verse number 37, chapter 1. In our previous class, we were discussing about certain points that Arjuna is putting before Sri Krishna. There are 5 points preliminary that we find from Arjuna's utterances. So the first is, Arjuna says, how can I kill my friends and relatives? And then the second question, or the second point is, without my dear ones, how can I enjoy the kingdom? Even if I emerge victorious in this battle, then how can I enjoy this winning? So, and the third point we see that sin will overcome us. Arjuna says that if I kill my kinsmen and my friends, sin will overcome us. Number 4, we see that family traditions will be finished, Arjuna says. And here we will see from verse number 37 to verse number 43, Arjuna discusses about how the family tradition is ruined as an effect of the battle. And the last point, he will say that, should I fight or not? So we will see that here Arjuna almost concluded in his mind that he is going to fight. But there is still a dvandva, that is duality in the mind. Anyway, so verse 37, Arjuna starts describing the adverse effect of battle regarding the destruction of family tradition. Yadyapyete na pashyanti lobhopahata chetasah kulakshaya krutam dosham mitradrohe cha patakam katham na gneyam 37 and 38. Katham na gneyam asmabhi papadasman nivartitum kulakshaya krutam dosham prapashyadbhir janardana. Yadi, if, api, even, ete, they, na, do not, pashyanti, see, lobha, by greed, upahata, overpowered, chetasaha, their hearts, kulakshaya, in killing the family, krutam, done, dosham, fault, mitradrohe, in quarreling with friends, cha, also, patakam, sinful reactions, katham, why, na, should not, gneyam, be known, asmabhihi, by us, papat, from sins, asmat, these, nivartitum, to cease, kulakshaya, in the destruction of a dynasty, kritam, done, dosham, crime, prapashyadbhihi, by those who can see, Janardana, O Krishna. So the translation is, O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? So a Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. As we see, that is why Yudhishthira Maharaja had to accept the gambling proposal of Duryodhana, and that is the root cause of this battle that is going to take place. So under such an obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he was being challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. So here we see Arjuna almost decided that I am not going to fight. We will study the next verses together. Verse number 39. Verse number 39. Kulakshaya pranashyanti. Yes, thank you. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatana dharme nashte kulam kritsnam adharmo bhi bhavatyuta. Kulakshaye, in destroying the family, pranashyanti, become vanquished, kula dharmaha, the family traditions, sanatanaha, eternal, dharme, religion, nashte, being destroyed, kulam, family, kritsnam, whole, adharmaha, irreligion, abhibhavati, transforms, uta, it is said. Translation. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. So we see in the system of the Varnashrama institution, there are many principles of religious to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. This is the basic concept of Varnashrama system. As we see, the first 25 years Brahmacharya ashram, the next is Grihastha ashram, that is householder life, and the next 25 years, that is 50 to 75, is Vanaprastha, and the last is Sannyasa. So they are meant to develop a person spiritually, but the spiritual growth actually Varnashrama system is meant for through different religious traditions and principles, moral principles. So we see there are 5 main causes why a person try to save himself from unrighteousness. Basic 5 points are there. 6 points are there. Number 1 is fear from God. Fear from God. Number 2 is fear from scriptures. Number 3 is fear of the risk of deviating from the family tradition and prestige. And number 4 is fear from the law and order of the society. Number 5 is fear of any physical loss, and number 6 is fear of any financial loss. So these are the 6 points that a person should save himself from any unrighteous activities. So here we see that Sanatana Kula Dharma, we are discussing on this point, Sanatana Kula Dharma, that is the eternal principles that to be maintained by any culture under Varnashrama system. Okay, so with this, we will now move on to the next verse, that is verse number 40. अधर्माभिभवात् कृष्ण प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टाशु वार्ष्णेय जायते वर्णसङ्करः. Adharma, irreligion. Abhibhavat, having become predominant. Krishna, O Krishna. Pradushyanti, become polluted. Kulastriyaha, family ladies. Strishu, by the womanhood. Dushtashu, being so polluted. Varshneya, O descendant of Vrishni. Ayate, comes into being. Varna Sankaraha, unwanted progeny. Translation. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, a descendant of Vrishni comes unwanted progeny. So we see when the family men, the male members of the family become vicious, women may argue that they will also take the same path. We see these days also, we see these things because what the male members can do, which is not righteous, that the women are also wanting to follow these days. So that is why it is said, and that was Dwapara Yuga, this is Kali Yuga. So that was still prohibited at that point of time. The Varnashrama system was prominent in the society, which is no more in these days. So good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashrama religion's principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation because they don't have their own control. Mostly in our society, we see they are controlled, not they are the controller. Therefore, both the children and the women require protection by the elder members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandita, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varnashrama system. On the failure of such Varnashrama dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with them. Men indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. So we see the unwanted children, it is here mentioned as the unwanted children, that is the result of intermingling of castes. That will be discussed in the next few verses. Will be like an epidemic, and which is actually alarming to the society. The Varnashrama system and the next verse we see, verse number 42, we will discuss Jati Dharma. These are the Varna Dharma, we say it as. So these are some important factors that to be followed to maintain the balance of the society. And if it is not there, then there could be problem, and that is we all see that we are witnessing this happening these days. So we see particularly this next verse number 41. Sankaro narakayaiva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. Sankaraha, such unwanted children. Narakaya, make for hellish life. Eva, certainly. Kulagnanam, for those who are killers of the family. Kulasya, for the family. Cha, also. Patanti, fall down. Pitaraha, forefathers. He, certainly. Esham, of them. Lupta, stopped. Pinda, of offerings of food. Udaka, and water. Kriyaha, performances. Translation. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Lupta kriyaha. We see in the Shraddha Tarpana, Pinda Kriya and Udaka Kriya are done for the forefathers by the younger family members. Pinda Kriya means offering foodstuff, a particular type of foodstuff actually, rice balls. Most of us have seen. And Udaka Kriya, Udaka means water. So Udaka Kriya, offering water. So rice balls and water are offered to the forefathers. We see according to the rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu, because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all of sinful reactions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body after death and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam food are offered to forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to the forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional service are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in the devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in Śrimad Bhagavatam. It is mentioned here, the reference has been given, that is in Canto 11 of Śrimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5, verse number 41. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam rinicha rajan sarvatmana yaha sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihitya kartam. It is by Karabhajana Yogendra instructing King Nimi in Śrimad Bhagavatam we see. So anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation. Mukunda literally means the giver of liberation. So giving up all kinds of obligation and has taken to the path in all seriousness all the duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, who are directly in bhakti, the devotional service to the Supreme Lord, automatically their other duties, prescribed duties, are fulfilled. So that is mentioned in this verse of Śrimad Bhagavatam, whose reference is given here in this connection. Okay. The next verse, that is verse 42. दोषे ऋते कुलघ्नानां वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्मः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः. दोषैः, by such faults, etaihi, all these, kulagnanam, of the destroyers of the family, varna sankara, of unwanted children, karakaihi, which are causes, utsadyante, are devastated, jati dharmaha, community projects, kula dharmaha, family traditions, cha, also, shashvataha, eternal. Sorry. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. So here, as we were just mentioning, jati dharma, this word is very important. The other meaning of jati dharma is varna dharma, actually, which means the rights and duties of different castes, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, etc. So we see the community projects for the four orders of human society combined with family welfare activities, as they are set forth by the institution of Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama, are designed to enable the human being to attain his ultimate salvation. So always the theme of Varnashrama system rotates around the ultimate salvation of human life, which we must not forget under any condition. So therefore, the breaking of the Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos in that society. Anyway, so here, as it is mentioned by Arjuna, the various adverse effects of ruining the family tradition as a result of battle. So the next verse is also this connection, verse number 43. Utsanna kula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vaso bhavatityanushruma. Utsanna, spoiled, kuladharmanam, of those who have the family traditions, manushyanam, of such men, janardana, O Krishna, narake, in hell, niyatam, always, vasaha, residence, bhavati, it so becomes, iti, thus, Anushruma, I have heard by disciplic succession. Translation. O Krishna, teacher of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. So, in this verse, these two terms are very significant. Niyatam, narake niyatam vaso, and bhavatit anushruma. Anushruma means that I have heard by disciplic succession. So means the younger members of the family get the knowledge by the parampara system, that is the tradition, from the senior members of the family and from the teachers, that is the gurus. So anushruma, so I have heard by disciplic succession, guru relationship, so within the family or maybe outside the family by some learned gurus. So that is very important point in this regard. And narake niyatam vaso means the people who are directly or indirectly responsible to vanquish the family tradition take their shelter permanently, inevitably in the hellish planets. So Arjuna bases his argument not on his personal experience here, Anushruma, that we are mentioning here. That is, he have gathered the information from the disciplic succession as well as from the scriptures. So one cannot reach the real point of knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashrama institution by which before death one has to undergo the process of atonement for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize this process of atonement called priceless. Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives as the result of sinful activities. So, this prayashchitta or atonement system is also prescribed by the senior members of the family, and under certain prescribed principles it is set. So, if anybody realizes the sins they have committed, they have to go through this process under the guidance of the gurus and the senior members. So, as we have seen that from verse number 37 to verse number 43, Arjuna is actually what we mentioned in the beginning, that the fourth point, that is the result of the destruction of family tradition, he is elaborating that point, or he is establishing that point, we can say. And in the next two verses, we will see how he is pitying himself, as if he is pitying himself for having decided to fight this war, because we see the determination, even that thought, that is the determination means that is the thought of fight a battle that ultimately leads to slaying of friends and relatives. It is most atrocious, abominable, completely, according to Arjuna, actually according to scriptures also. So he thinks that even the determination or the thought of this is so atrocious. So what to speak of the directly fighting the war? So and that is why he is saying the next verse, he is starting as verse number 43. Aho bata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam. Verse number 44. Aho bata. Okay, first we will chant and then we will discuss why he is using these particular words. Aho bata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yadrajya sukhalobhena hantum swajanam udyata. Aho, alas, bata, how strange it is. Mahat, great, papam, sins, kartum, to perform, vyavasitaha, have decided, vayam, we, yat, because, rajya sukha lobhena, driven by greed for royal happiness, hantum, to kill, swajanam, kinsmen, udyataha, trying. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. So here this particular two words, aho, aho is an expression of astonishment, and bata is an expression of lamentation, grief. So here it is a combination of both these expressions lying in Arjuna's heart. And specifically why he is using these two terms here, because Arjuna's intention to say that we are known to this world as intelligent and virtuous people, and that we are here to commit this sinful act, Mahat Papam, this great sin, Mahat Papam. We have assembled here to perform this Mahat Papam. So how astonishing it is. Alas, that is using these particular words. And in continuation, he says the next verse, that is verse number 45. Yadi mama pratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah dhartarashtrarane hanyustanme kshemataram bhavet. Yadi, even if, mam, me, apratikaram, without being resistant, ashastram, without being fully equipped, shastraparnayaha, those with weapons in hand, dhartarashtraha, the sons of Dhritarashtra, rane, on the battlefield, hanyuhu, may kill, that, may, for me, kshemataram, better, bhavet, would be. Translation. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So, Arjuna is saying, almost completely decided that I am not going to fight. And he is saying, it is much better that let the opponent party kill me. I will not resist them. I will be unarmed and ready, completely ready to give my life. So we see that he is almost decided. So the 5 points that we talked about, and the last point what we said, that should I fight or not? So here almost he has decided that I am not going to fight, but still little dvandva, as we say, that a little dilemma is there in his mind, and that is why he will surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, and then everything will be changed, as we know. So that is why in verse number 46, the last verse of this first chapter, as we discussed from verse number 28 till verse number 45, Arjuna uttered. He gave his opinion on the inauspicious effects of the battle. And now Sanjaya, the secretary of Dhritarashtra, is narrating the situation, what Arjuna did after saying all these long Upadesha. Actually, so many things so many topics Arjuna discussed in this connection before the Supreme Lord. So as if he gave a complete lecture. That is, these are the all adverse effects of the war, and so it is quite justified that if I don't take part in this war, so all these things. And that is why in verse 46, what Arjuna did, Sanjaya is stating that. Verse 46. Vacha evam muktvarjuna sankhye रथोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः. Sanjaya uvacha, Sanjaya said, evam, thus, uktva, saying, Arjuna, sankhye, in the battlefield, ratha, of the chariot, upasthe, on the seat, upavishat, sat down again, visprijya, putting aside, sasharam, along with arrows, chapam, the bow, shoka, by lamentation, samvigna, distressed, manasaha, within the mind. Translation. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot. We saw in the beginning, he was very enthusiastic and requested Sri Krishna to place the chariot between the armies. Senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapayame chuta. But after seeing his kinsmen and friends, he was so afflicted with lamentation. It was out of his natural compassionate nature. A soft-hearted person Arjuna was, and that is why here it is mentioned that such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Everybody is not eligible to receive the self-knowledge. And as the Supreme Lord selected Arjuna for the deliverance of highest spiritual knowledge, definitely Arjuna had all the divine dispositions. That is why he was selected. So here we see at the end of chapter 1, the platform is ready, and the second chapter we will see Bhagavan will start uttering the highest truth, the highest spiritual truth, which is also known as the summary of the scripture, that is Bhagavad Gita. So with this, we will now close today's session. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you.